Part 1. Introduction. What if the person you keep falling for isn't a new discovery, but an ancient echo? What if your romantic destiny isn't a matter of chance encounters or conscious choice, but a deeply ingrained, invisible pattern woven into the very fabric of your psyche? Imagine for a moment that the universe isn't just bringing you similar partners. Instead, you are unconsciously seeking out the same fundamental person, over and over again, like a moth drawn to a familiar yet often destructive flame. This isn't about bad luck or a limited dating pool. This is about a profound, hidden truth within you. A truth that Carl Jung, the enigmatic Swiss psychiatrist, dared to uncover. He proposed that long before you ever meet someone, the blueprint for your ideal, or even your most challenging partner, already exists within your unconscious mind. And until you bring this blueprint into the light, you are destined to repeat the same romantic story, trapped in a loop of familiar heartbreaks and unfulfilled desires. Part 2. The modern problem. In our hyper-connected swipe-right world, the quest for love has never seemed more abundant. Yet for many, it remains an elusive, frustrating enigma. We meticulously craft our profiles, curate our images, and articulate our desires, believing that with enough effort and choice, we will finally find the one. Yet how many times have you heard a friend lament, or perhaps experienced yourself, the uncanny sensation of dating the same person, just in a different body? The names change, the faces differ, the professions vary, but the core dynamics, the fundamental challenges, the familiar patterns of attraction and eventual disappointment remain eerily consistent. Consider Sarah, a brilliant architect who consistently finds herself drawn to emotionally unavailable artists. Each relationship begins with intense passion, a shared creative spark, but inevitably devolves into a cycle of her chasing affection and validation, while her partner remains distant, absorbed in their own world. She vows each time to break the pattern, to seek someone stable and present. Yet her next connection, despite outward differences, somehow manages to replicate the same emotional void. Or perhaps Mark, a successful entrepreneur, who repeatedly falls for partners who are fiercely independent, almost to the point of being aloof. He admires their strength and self-sufficiency, but soon finds himself yearning for intimacy and connection that they seem unwilling or unable to provide. He feels perpetually on the periphery of their lives, a supportive but ultimately secondary character in their grand narrative. He tries dating someone more outwardly affectionate, but the spark quickly fades, and he finds himself inexplicably drawn back to the challenge of the emotionally distant. This isn't just anecdotal evidence, it's a widespread phenomenon. We see it in the friend who always dates someone with a victim complex, needing constant reassurance. The one who is perpetually attracted to the fixer-upper, believing they can change someone. The person who gravitates towards partners who are charming but unreliable, or intense but possessive. The pattern is so pervasive that it has become a running joke, a resigned sigh among singles and those in long-term relationships alike. Here we go again, same story, different chapter. Why does this happen? Why, despite our conscious intentions, our learned lessons, and our desperate desire for something different, do we find ourselves caught in this romantic Groundhog Day? We analyze our past relationships, seek advice from friends, read self-help books, and even attend therapy, all in an attempt to understand and break free. We blame external factors, bad luck, limited options, the flaws of others. But what if the answer isn't out there but deep within us? What if the key to unlocking new, healthier romantic experiences lies not in changing who we seek, but in understanding who we are, and more importantly, who we believe we need? This is where the profound insights of Carl Jung offer not just an explanation, but a path to liberation. Part 3. The Philosophical Decoding. To truly grasp why we keep dating the same person, we must venture into the profound depths of the human psyche, guided by the revolutionary insights of Carl Gustav Jung. Jung, a contemporary and one-time protege of Sigmund Freud, broke away from his mentor to forge his own path, delving beyond the personal unconscious into what he termed the collective unconscious. This is where the true magic and the true trap of our romantic patterns reside. Jung proposed that the collective unconscious is a reservoir of universal experiences and images inherited by all humanity. Within this vast, shared psychic inheritance lie archetypes, primordial patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior. Think of them as innate templates or blueprints for human experience, manifesting in myths, dreams, religions, and, crucially, in our relationships. These aren't learned. They are part of our psychic DNA. Among the most significant archetypes for understanding romantic attraction are the Anima and the Animus. These are not merely concepts. They are living dynamic forces within our unconscious. The Anima is the unconscious feminine aspect in a man's psyche, while the Animus is the unconscious masculine aspect in a woman's psyche. Let's unpack the Anima first. For a man, the Anima represents his inner woman. It's the sum total of his experiences with women throughout his life. His mother, sisters, teachers, friends, and lovers, combined with the inherited universal image of the feminine. The Anima embodies qualities traditionally associated with the feminine: intuition, emotion, receptivity, creativity, connection, and the capacity for relationship. When a man is unconscious of his Anima, or has a poorly integrated one, he tends to project this inner image onto external women. He seeks in a partner the qualities he either lacks, fears, or has suppressed within himself. If his Anima is associated with a nurturing, idealized mother figure, he might unconsciously seek a partner who will care for him unconditionally. If his Anima carries the wound of a critical or absent mother, he might repeatedly find himself drawn to women who are similarly critical or emotionally distant, unconsciously seeking to resolve that original wound. The Anima is the soul image, the inner guide to the realm of feeling and relationship. When a man falls in love, he is often, in Jung's view, falling in love with his own projected Anima. He sees in the external woman the embodiment of his inner feminine ideal, or perhaps his inner feminine shadow. Conversely, for a woman, the Animus is her inner man. It represents the unconscious masculine aspect of her psyche, encompassing qualities like logic, reason, assertiveness, courage, initiative, and the capacity for objective thought. Just as with the Anima, the Animus is shaped by a woman's experiences with men in her life: her father, brothers, male figures of authority, and partners, blended with the universal image of the masculine. A woman who is unconscious of her Animus might project this inner image onto external men. She might seek a partner who embodies the strength and conviction she feels she lacks. Or conversely, someone who represents the oppressive or controlling masculine figures from her past, unconsciously trying to master or overcome that dynamic. The Animus is often associated with opinion, conviction, and the capacity for spiritual or intellectual understanding. When a woman falls in love, she is often, in Jung's view, falling in love with her own projected Animus. She sees in the external man the embodiment of her inner masculine ideal, or perhaps her inner masculine shadow. The crucial point here is projection. When we are unconscious of these inner figures, we don't recognize them as parts of ourselves. Instead, we project them onto others, particularly potential romantic partners. We are not truly seeing the other person for who they are. We are seeing them through the lens of our own unconscious needs, desires, and unresolved complexes. The person we are attracted to becomes a screen onto which we project our Anima or Animus. This projection is what creates that intense, almost fated feeling of attraction, that sense of, "I've known you forever," or "you complete me." It's not necessarily the other person completing you, but rather they're embodying a missing or unacknowledged part of yourself, Furthermore, these archetypes are not static. They develop and evolve throughout our lives, influenced by our experiences. A healthy anima or animus is integrated, meaning its qualities are recognized and assimilated into the conscious personality. A man with an integrated anima can access his own intuition and emotional depth. A woman with an integrated animus can assert her opinions and act decisively. But when these archetypes remain largely unconscious, they can become problematic. They can lead us to repeatedly seek out partners who embody the unintegrated or shadow aspects of our inner opposite sex, trapping us in cycles of attraction to individuals who, despite their outward differences, fulfill the same unconscious role in our psychic drama. The toxic loops arise because the unconscious seeks wholeness. If a man has suppressed his emotional side, his anima might manifest as an attraction to highly emotional, perhaps even volatile women, in an unconscious attempt to connect with that missing part of himself. If a woman has been taught to suppress her assertiveness, her animus might lead her to partners who are overly dominant or controlling, as a distorted way of engaging with her own unexpressed power. The relationship becomes a stage for the unconscious to play out its unresolved conflicts, hoping that through the external partner, the inner imbalance can be rectified. But without conscious awareness, the pattern simply repeats, because the true work needs to happen within. Part 4. The application in today's world. Now, let's bring Jung's profound insights back to the modern dating landscape and illuminate those frustrating, repetitive patterns. The aha moment arrives when we realize that the person we keep dating isn't just a type. They are a living manifestation of our own unacknowledged inner world. Consider the person who consistently dates partners who are emotionally distant or unavailable. From a Jungian perspective, this isn't just a string of bad luck. It could be that their own anima, for a man, or animus, for a woman, carries a significant wound related to emotional connection, perhaps stemming from early childhood experiences where emotional expression was discouraged or met with withdrawal. The unconscious, in its relentless drive for wholeness, projects this unintegrated aspect onto potential partners. The emotionally distant partner becomes a mirror, reflecting back the very part of themselves they need to integrate. The capacity for deep, vulnerable connection, or the courage to demand it. The toxic loop persists because the individual keeps trying to fix the external partner, rather than recognizing the internal dynamic that draws them to this specific challenge. The relationship becomes a perpetual reenactment of an unresolved inner conflict. Take the example of someone who always falls for the bad boy, or femme fatale, the charming, rebellious, perhaps even dangerous individual. This isn't merely a preference for excitement. It could be that their own anima or animus holds a suppressed shadow aspect, a desire for freedom, a rebellion against societal norms, or an unacknowledged wildness. If these qualities are not consciously integrated, they are projected onto an external figure who embodies them. The attraction is intense because this person represents a thrilling, forbidden part of themselves. The toxic loop often manifests as instability, betrayal, or a constant push-pull dynamic, because the individual is unconsciously trying to live out their own unexpressed shadow through the partner, rather than integrating these qualities responsibly within themselves. The relationship becomes a chaotic stage for their own inner rebellion. What about the individual who always dates someone who needs fixing? The person with addiction issues, financial instability, or deep-seated emotional problems? This often points to a powerful, perhaps overdeveloped nurturing or savior complex within their anima or animus. They project their own need to be needed, their desire to heal or rescue, onto a partner who perfectly fits that role. The toxic loop here is one of codependency, where their sense of self-worth becomes inextricably linked to the partner's problems. The relationship becomes a perpetual project, diverting attention from their own unaddressed needs or the fear of their own vulnerability. They are unconsciously seeking to complete themselves by completing another, rather than finding their own inner wholeness. Or consider the person who is repeatedly attracted to partners who are highly critical or demanding. This could be a projection of a harsh inner critic within their own anima or animus. Perhaps they grew up in an environment where they were constantly judged, and this pattern has been internalized. The unconscious then seeks out external partners who will reenact this critical dynamic, in a misguided attempt to finally master or overcome it. The toxic loop is one of constant striving for approval, feeling perpetually inadequate, and never quite measuring up. The relationship becomes a mirror for their own self-criticism, preventing them from developing self-acceptance. The aha moment is realizing that these partners, no matter how different they appear on the surface, are serving the same unconscious function. They are holding up a mirror to a part of ourselves that we have not yet acknowledged, integrated, or healed. The intensity of the attraction, the feeling of destiny, is often the intensity of our own unconscious calling out for attention. It's not that there are no other types of people in the world. It's that our unconscious is selectively filtering for those who embody the specific archetypal qualities it needs to confront. Until we consciously engage with our anima or animus, until we understand what inner qualities we are projecting, we will continue to be drawn to the same fundamental dynamic, trapped in a cycle of repetition. The external relationship is merely a symptom. The root cause lies within. Part 5. The Empowerment and Conclusion. The revelation of the anima and animus is not a sentence to perpetual romantic repetition. It is a profound invitation to self-discovery and liberation. Understanding these archetypes is not about blaming yourself or your past. It is about gaining the ultimate power to choose your future. The toxic loops are not curses, but rather signposts. They are the unconscious mind's desperate attempts to bring something vital to your attention, to push you towards wholeness. The path to breaking these patterns begins with awareness. It starts with asking yourself, what is the recurring theme in my relationships? What core dynamic, what fundamental challenge keeps reappearing regardless of the person? Is it emotional unavailability? A need to fix? A fear of commitment? A struggle with control? Once you identify this pattern, look inward. Ask yourself, where do I embody this quality myself? Where have I suppressed it? Where have I experienced it in my past, particularly with significant figures like parents or caregivers? For men, this means engaging with your anima. Explore your emotional landscape. What feelings do you avoid? What aspects of nurturing, receptivity, or intuition do you dismiss? How can you cultivate these qualities within yourself rather than seeking them exclusively in a partner? For women, it means engaging with your animus. What opinions do you hold back? What assertiveness do you suppress? What intellectual or spiritual convictions do you shy away from expressing? How can you embody these qualities yourself rather than relying on a partner to provide them? This process is not about becoming self-sufficient to the point of isolation. It is about becoming psychologically whole, so that when you do enter a relationship, you are not projecting your unintegrated parts onto another. You are not seeking a missing half, but rather a conscious partner who complements your already developing wholeness. When you integrate your anima or animus, you no longer need to project its shadow onto others, nor do you need to seek its idealized form externally. You become capable of seeing your partner for who they truly are, rather than through the distorting lens of your own unconscious needs. The journey of integrating these archetypes is the journey of individuation, Jung's ultimate goal for human development. It is a lifelong process of becoming the most complete, authentic version of yourself. And as you embark on this journey, your romantic life will inevitably transform. You will find yourself attracted to different qualities, capable of forming deeper, more conscious connections, and finally, truly free from the invisible chains of your past. So, the next time you find yourself drawn to a familiar pattern, pause. Look inward. For the person you keep dating is not just them. It is a profound reflection of you. And in understanding that reflection lies the power to rewrite your romantic destiny, not by changing the world, but by changing yourself. The secret to a new love story isn't found in a new person, but in a newly discovered self.